Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm talking about a display that I've been using and I wanted to share it with all of you. A lot of people ask me what my primary display is because I edit and do most of my work from MacBook Pro, and I also have a PC. I built a PC, I built a few of them, and so I jump back and forth between those, and I also find that I need a little bit bigger of a display for productivity purposes, and it just helps all around for a lot of my workflow. And so I've had the Dell U3419W. It's an UltraSharp 34-inch wide monitor with a curve to it. And, you know, I've really had issues with choosing monitors over the years because I like an ultra-wide monitor, but an ultra-wide that doesn't have a curve to it is kind of hard on the eyes for me. I feel like I'm going from one end to the other of the monitor, and the edges are really far away from me. Adding in the curved aspect to it definitely feels like it brings it a little bit closer. But the first curved monitor experience that I had a few years ago just left me feeling a little off about it because I was editing a lot of photos at that time, and I just felt like the photos were skewed weird when I was looking at them. And it was probably just the technology with the monitors at the very beginning when those curved displays were coming out. But it's gotten to be so good. And I'm a big fan of Dell monitors. I've had some Dell displays, some LG displays. I've had Apple displays in the past. And Dell monitors have just always been pretty good all around. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences with this monitor here. In case you're thinking about picking up one, hopefully I can answer some of the questions that you might have. Because when it comes to talking about monitors and specs and color accuracy and all of that stuff, there are a lot of people that do that. But what it really comes down to is how are we going to utilize these displays? How well do they actually perform based on the type of work that we're doing? And then also for the price point, do they really add any value? And those are things I wanted to talk about in this video. So first I wanted to talk about why I went with ultra wide and also curved display. Obviously curved display has its own issues and benefits, and it really depends. It can be a personal preference at times. And ultra wide is something that is a little weird because it's so much different than our typical like laptop display or even displays that we've been used to. But for me, I really wanted to go with it because my video editing style and also just my typical workflow has involved me having a good view of display of what I'm working on. And then also I've been doing a lot with the app Notion, which I talk about on my personal YouTube channel. Notion is like a productivity tool, but it is so much more than that. And I utilize Notion for organizing projects, video projects like this, tasks, my daily log that I use for like just keeping track of my day and checking in with myself. Everything I do within Notion, and it's pretty cool. So if you want to know more about that, check out the link below. It'll take you over to my personal channel after this video is done. But I like having Notion open because like when I'm editing a video like this, I'm looking at what shots I need to get still, like B-roll shots and different angles and all that stuff, and I'm making notes. And it's hard when you're not on a big display to have enough real estate. You're zooming back and forth between displays, or you're bringing application images up to the front, and it's just kind of a weird experience. And I would find myself going back and forth because maybe I didn't remember something like the name of this monitor, the Dell U3419W. Things like that are hard to remember because they're just so weird. And so having the application side by side, my productivity is improved substantially by having that ultra-wide display. So a lot of games too now support ultra-wide. This is not necessarily a gaming monitor. It doesn't really have a super high refresh rate, but for a person like me who's an occasional gamer and then occasionally lets his kids play games, it's definitely a much more fun and immersive experience having an ultra-wide monitor because most of the games are starting to now support it. And even though this is not a gaming monitor per se, it still provides a pretty decent experience for the occasional gamer like me or my children. So let's go over those specs really quick just to kind of get them out of the way. This is a 34-inch display, 34.14 inch. It is an IPS display with the WLED backlights. And so what that means is that you're getting a really nice display that has little to no burn-in. I've looked, I haven't had any burn-in, but I looked to see if anybody else has had any issues with burn-in. Nobody has shared anything of having issues with burn-in on a display like this. Also, it's easier on the eyes, and I've had Dell displays and even LG displays in the past that have just been so bright and brutal on my eyes that I've had a hard time with them. And this display is a little bit easier on my eyes than what I've been used to in the past. It does get very bright. It is a 3440 by 1440 pixel display with 109 pixels per inch depth, which is not the highest that's out there. These ultra wide and curved displays are not the most pixel deep displays that are available, but do we really need that is arguable. For me and what I'm doing, this is definitely good enough. Yes, I would like something that was maybe a little higher resolution, that maybe was more than just HD in height. Of course, I've got the width there, but I would like a little bit more than just kind of standard HD in height. And there are displays that go there, but they're substantially higher in price. And so with this display, I felt like I was getting the best of what's available for the price point, something that's, you know, well under $1,000, but it's above $500 right now is where this monitor is at. And I think that it does a great job for the price. Now, it has a 1,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and that's pretty good. There are monitors that are higher than that, but the contrast ratio for me is not super important per se as the color accuracy. Of course, I want the bright areas and the dark areas on this monitor to be really good. I want there to be a good difference between those because I do a lot of photo editing, I do a lot of video editing, but for me, the color accuracy is what's super important, and this covers 99% of the RGB spectrum, which isn't perfect. I definitely have a little bit better performance out of my laptop, and in the past with my Dell XPS 15 that I was editing on for quite a while, a little bit better color accuracy there. But for a monitor of this size that is so wide, it's actually really good. The 99% is more than good enough for the type of work that I'm doing, considering I'm uploading videos to YouTube, which are going to crush the contrast ratio of my images anyways. So I did already talk about the fact that this isn't really a gaming monitor, and that's because the refresh rate doesn't get that high. Most gaming monitors these days are 144 Hertz. This monitor has a variable refresh rate that goes up to about 76 Hertz, and so it's not going to be super fast. For those of you that are more avid gamers, you already know this monitor is probably not for you. Maybe if you are looking at this monitor as something that you want to use for your work and then occasionally game on it, if you are an avid gamer, it's not going to give you the experience that you're really wanting. But for those of us that just play occasionally and are not really that good to begin with, it's probably going to be plenty fast enough for those of you that are on the same level as me or even my kids. Now, with monitors like this, they give you the size of the monitor, and then because it's such a large monitor, you might take a tape measure and try and figure out exactly how it's going to fit on your desk. And the numbers that they give you online are also sometimes a little confusing. So I went ahead and measured this monitor and the space that it takes up on my desk myself so that I could report that back to you. So it is 32 inches in its footprint. So the monitor is going to need 32 inches from edge to edge. And so if you don't have that much room, or maybe you're going to put this in the corner or something like that, 32 inches is definitely a pretty wide amount of space that this monitor is going to take up, especially considering its viewable is 34, or its diagonal is 34 inches. So 32 inches are going to be required. Now, a 14.3 inch minimum. So if you have the height of the monitor pushed all the way down, 14.3 inches, that's exactly what it said online. But mine is at around 20 inches, and that's the viewable. So I have it sitting on top of my desk. I don't have it raised up any higher. And so I have it at about 20 inches from the desk to the very top of the monitor. That's about what I'm looking at. And then the depth of the edge of the center of the monitor. So I measured from the wall to the edge of the center of the monitor. Keep in mind it curves, so on the curved edges it's out a little bit further, but that was about 6 inches. And so you're going to need that monitor to be out from the wall about 6 inches. So if you have a shallow desk, this monitor might not necessarily be one that you would choose, or you might decide to mount this using a VESA mount and mount it to the wall instead of using the stand, because the stand definitely makes it stick out from the wall a lot further than it would if you were actually just mounting it to the wall. So I've talked a little bit about the performance of the monitor. It is super bright. On average, I end up having it at around 30% brightness because I'm not in a super bright room. I'm in a okay lit room when I'm editing, but I'm not in a super bright room, and so I never ever really need to go up to full brightness or anywhere near full brightness. I'm usually at around 30 to 40% brightness. The monitor itself does a great job, and I really enjoy editing video and editing photos, and I also write some code and do some web design, and so being able to utilize that extra screen real estate is really nice. And I talked about utilizing Notion over there. I always have Notion pulled up because I'm just putting information into Notion and utilizing it in my projects, and so it just works out really well for me there. Where the monitor hasn't shined so much for me is in the audio quality with the speakers. The speakers, depending on what you're editing, and I'm editing a lot of talking videos like this, there seems to be like a light rattling, and I don't necessarily know if it's just the monitor that I have. Maybe there's an issue with it, or if that's just common, but it just isn't as clear as I would like. I typically end up putting on headphones anyways, but the rattling or the rattling feeling of the monitor just is something that just kind of left me wondering what was going on. Now, I typically don't use audio out of the monitor. It is nice that it has it. Most Dell monitors don't have any audio built in at all, and when listening to music, it actually does sound pretty good coming out of the monitor, and it gets relatively loud. It's definitely a better audio experience out of the monitor as far as loudness and depth of the audio than I would get out of my laptop, but it's still not a perfect experience. Of course, another issue is connecting it to a Mac laptop. So if you want to utilize this with a Mac laptop, typically you would go USB-C from the monitor to the laptop itself, which is great because the monitor has that. But when you put the computer into sleep mode, you know, it's always, the monitor is waking it up, which is really weird. And so the monitor will come on, you know, 10-15 minutes later, and then it will go off, and then it'll come back on, then it'll go off, and so it just continues to do this, which is really annoying. So there's that issue, and it's not necessarily an issue of the monitor, it's an issue of the monitor being able to communicate properly with the laptop. With the PC, of course, running HDMI or DisplayPort, that's not so much of an issue. You put the PC to sleep, the monitor doesn't wake it up, and so it's not really an issue there. I do like the fact that this monitor can charge my laptop while I'm utilizing it, so that one USB-C cable can charge my MacBook Pro, and I have the latest MacBook Pro. I just bought the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it's really great. I like it, and I'll talk about that in another video, but it's nice being able to charge my laptop with this monitor. So what I find myself doing is when I'm done for the day, I will just flat out unplug the monitor from the laptop altogether, and then the laptop will stay in sleep mode and I don't have to worry about it. I also have the monitor plugged into my PC because I tend to jump back and forth. I built a Threadripper PC a while back, and I utilize that PC for some light video editing sometimes. I definitely game on that PC as opposed to the Mac, and so I like having the PC there for those purposes, and I love the fact that I can actually have them both connected and then just switch inputs between them whenever I need to go from one to the other. So with that said, overall, the performance of this monitor is actually really good. I like it. I'm glad that I invested in it and decided to purchase this monitor. I think that it adds a lot of value for those of you that have a wide range of things that you do. If you were considering getting dual monitors for that extra productivity, I would say forget that whole idea and just buy an ultra wide like this with the curved. The curved definitely gives you a little bit more of an immersive experience, not only with games or consuming video or something like that, but just having everything a little bit closer to you makes it easier because you're going to be moving your head from one side of the monitor to the other, and it's just less work on your eyes when everything is kind of at a consistent distance away from your head. And I like that about this monitor. So with that said, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. This is the first time that I've really tried to talk at length about a monitor, and so this is a little bit new. So if you would like more monitor content, I would like to bring that to you. So definitely let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I've got links to this monitor in the description. Clicking on that link and making a purchase, whether it be this monitor or something else, definitely helps support the channel here, and I appreciate that. They're Amazon affiliate links, and they are no cost additional to you for clicking on them. All it does is help support our channel here. So thanks in advance for doing that. But that's going to do it for this video. Click that subscribe button so you'll be notified when we put out more videos, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Take care.